The Moto Files, Episode 1. They say the truth will set you free, but in this sport we don't deal in the truth. We deal in a very specific, high-octane form of self-delusion. It's a psychological survival kit that allows us to spend thousands of dollars on machines that actively try to eject us into pine trees. Welcome to the first episode of the Moto Files. Today we're digging through the archives of the greatest lies ever told, not by politicians or car salesmen, but by us, the dusty idiots of the woods and the tracks. Now look, I'm not saying we're dishonest people. In the real world, we're probably great. We pay our taxes, we remember birthdays, we're productive members of society. But the moment we put a helmet on, our relationship with reality becomes, how you say, complicated. We don't lie to be mean. We lie because if we were actually honest about the cost, the effort, and the sheer physical toll of this hobby, we'd all be at home doing something sensible, like gardening or competitive knitting. So grab a cold one, sit back, and let's see how many of these you've told in the last month, starting with the one that kicks the whole door down. Lie number 1. I'll just do one quick ride. This is the gateway lie. The lie that starts all the other lies. It usually begins early on a Sunday morning, delivered with the calm confidence of a man who has absolutely no understanding of how dirt bike riding actually works. You tell your partner,
I remember this trail.
I'll only be gone an hour, just doing a quick loop. Just want to test some suspension settings. Just checking the jetting. Ah yes, the quick loop, one of the great works of fiction, alongside the checks in the mail. I'll read the terms and conditions. And this old KTM should be reliable, because a dirt bike rider has never, in the history of off-road motorcycling, successfully gone for one quick ride. What actually happens is you discover a trail you've never noticed before, and suddenly your brain changes completely. Now you're not a responsible adult with weekend obligations. Now you're a dusty explorer and overconfident idiot with hydration problems. 20 minutes later, you're halfway up a washed out hill climb that looks like it was created by an escaping prisoner thinking, I mean, we're already here. Then you say to yourself, the 4 most dangerous words in dirt biking. I reckon it goes through. From that exact moment, your entire day collapses. Suddenly, the radiator is boiling. Your arms have stopped functioning properly. You've dropped your bike into a creek. And your GPS now resembles a missing persons report. Meanwhile, back home, your family assumes you died around lunchtime. But eventually, you roll back in at about 4:37 p.m. Dehydrated, sunburnt, covered in mud, smelling like sweat, eucalyptus trees and chain loop, with a 1,000-yard stare, normally associated with minor warfare. And when somebody asks you what happened to your quick ride, you give the traditional dirt bike rider response. Yeah, I just got a little lost on the way home. Lie number 2. It only needs minor work. This might be the most powerful lie ever told in the dirt bike world. Not because it's believable, but because we want to believe it. It usually starts the same way. 11:47 p.m, you're lying in your bed half asleep, scrolling Marketplace like a financially irresponsible raccoon, and then you see it. A slightly blurry photo of a 2004 Honda, taken in complete darkness with what appears to be a potato. The description says, easy project. Just needs minor work, ran when parked. Just needs the carb cleaned. Ah yes, the carb clean, the dirt bike equivalent of the Titanic. Just needs a little paint. Because minor work on an old dirt bike usually means the suspension oil has become a biological organism. Every bearing feels full of gravel. The air filter could qualify as an archaeological discovery, and at some point in its life, the wiring loom was repaired using speaker wire and emotional instability. But your brain doesn't hear any of that. Oh no. Your brain immediately goes, great, a bargain. You convince yourself, I'll have this thing running by Sunday. Bit of tinkering could actually make money on this thing. You will not make money on this. 3 months later, your garage looks like a low-budget motorcycle crime scene. The bike is spread across the floor in 700 mysterious pieces. You now own 3 torque wrenches, a bearing puller, 2 gasket scrapers, and a highly specific tool that costs $94 and only fits this motorcycle. Your YouTube history becomes deeply concerning. It's now just how to remove seized swing arm bolts. Why won't my status spark? And a shirtless man from rural Poland explaining crank timing using a screwdriver. And pure confidence. At some point you stop referring to it as the bike and start calling it the project, which is dirt bike language for this machine has consumed my personality. Your hands are permanently stained black. Your partner hasn't seen you in emotionally available in weeks, and every conversation now starts with, you know what the problem might be? And then one night, after weeks of suffering, it fires. Suddenly the garage fills with blue smoke. Bad decisions and the sound of mechanical victory. And in that exact moment, you forget the money. You forget the frustration, the swearing, the psychological damage, and immediately open marketplace again. Because honestly, the next one only needs a minor top-end rebuild. Which brings us to lie number 3, and I'm pretty sure most of you can relate to this one. I probably don't need knee braces. This is what dirt bike riders call managing risk. What we're actually doing is trying to negotiate with physics. And physics, unfortunately, has the personality of a prison warden. This whole process usually starts immediately after buying a motorcycle. You absolutely had no business buying in the first place. So now the budget is strained. You're standing in the gear shop, holding a pair of premium knee braces that cost roughly the same as a second-hand trail bike from 1997. And suddenly, your brain starts performing what experts call dirt bike mathematics, which is where a fully grown adult convinces himself, I probably won't crash today. You start mentally downgrading your riding ability. I'm not racing, I'm just trail riding. I'll take it easy, I'll just avoid doing anything stupid. An incredible sentence considering dirt bike riding itself is already an organised sequence of stupid decisions. But instead of buying the knee braces, you buy the titanium exhaust. Because the exhaust saves 400 grams, adds 0.7 of a horsepower, and most importantly, makes the bike sound absolutely furious. And honestly, that feels more important at the time. Knee braces aren't exciting. Nobody stands around the pits going, bro, check out Craig's sensible long-term joint protection. So off you go into the bush or the forest wearing budget knee guards, fading confidence and enough optimism to medically concern a psychologist. And at the very first, it feels great. The bike sounds incredible. You're flowing through corners. You start thinking, honestly, people overreact about safety gear, which is normally the exact moment dirt biking decides to humble you. Suddenly there's a hidden route, or a rock, or a rut, deep enough to contain weather systems, and in less than half a second, your motorcycle performs a completely different manoeuvre to your skeleton. The bike goes one direction, your body chooses another. And now your knee resembles modern art. So now you're lying on the side of the trail, helmet half full of dirt, staring into the trees, trying to calculate whether an ACL reconstruction costs more than that exhaust pipe. And that's when the realisation hits. The ground does not care. It doesn't care what grade rider you are, how expensive the bike was, or whether you were taking it easy. Physics applies equally to everyone, especially overconfident trail riders named Steve.
In 1971,
but hey, at least the bike sounded factory, right before the impact.
Wasn't just fast.
Lie number 4. This old two-stroke will be reliable.
Built for those brave or crazy enough to
Ah yes, the toxic relationships section of the video. This is the part where we talk about the charismatic criminals of the motorcycle world, the old two-strokes. Machines that smell like victory and sound like a chainsaw, having a nervous breakdown of course. Every vintage owner tells themselves, this one's different, the previous owner was an engineer. It's basically a fresh rebuild. A fresh rebuild. In the world of 20-year-old dirt bikes, a fresh rebuild usually means the guy replaced the spark plug. He wiped the grease off the swing arm with his t-shirt. And you tell yourself, this bike is simple. Simple is good. Simple means nothing can go wrong. Except for the fact that the jetting is controlled by the current phase of the moon. The compression is held in by a gasket made from a cereal box, and the starting procedure involves a blood sacrifice and a 3-stage ritual involving the choke and a specific prayer to the gods of premix. But the moment it crackles into life, the moment that crisp metallic ring-ding-ding hits your eardrums, the logic centres in your brain completely evaporate. You don't care that it vibrates. Enough to give you permanent blurred vision. You don't care that it has the fuel range of a Zippo lighter. You're convinced you're the fastest man alive. Right up until the moment it makes a sound like a bolt falling into a blender. I love this one. Lie number 5. I don't need to bring tools. This sentence has never survived contact with reality. And never will, in fact. Saying I don't need tools is basically a telepathic signal to the universe to snap your clutch lever in the most inconvenient spot possible. Because dirt bikes possess a supernatural ability to sense when you are unprepared. It's like they have a neglect sensor built in to the frame. The second you decide to leave the tools in the truck because it's a short loop, physics starts licking its chops. Suddenly, a chain that was perfect fine for 3 years decides it wants to be a necklace. A radiator hose develops a mysterious leak that can only be fixed by the exact size of screwdriver you left on the workbench back home. Or your mate's KTM develops an electrical issue, so complex it would confuse the entire team at NASA. Meanwhile, there's always that one guy. You know him, the guy who carries 10 kilograms of gear in his backpack that looks like it contains a portable workshop and a small field hospital. He's got spare tubes, tyre irons, he's got zip ties, JB Weld, and probably a backup engine in there somewhere. And the irony is, he never breaks down. Because the dirt bike gods reward paranoia. The tools act as a protective ward. By carrying them, you ensure you'll never need them. By leaving them, you ensure you'll spend the next 4 hours pushing a 110 kilogram machine through a swamp, while your mates offer helpful advice from their running bikes, of course. Lie number 6. I'll take it easy today. No, you won't. You never do. Dirt riders are physically incapable of taking it easy. Once a second bike enters the field of vision, you could be exhausted nursing a hangover, recovering from a minor fracture, riding on a diet consisting entirely of dust and electrolytes. But the second your mate's front wheel draws level with yours, your brain goes target acquired. Suddenly you aren't taking it easy anymore. You're entering corners with the confidence of a lottery winner and the survival instincts of a lemming. You're overshooting berms attempting jumps that your insurance company would strictly forbid, and pretending your heavy breathing is just intense focus. All because nobody wanted to lose a race that was never officially started.
I occasionally use for a trail ride. So,
Lie number 7. Just one more bike.
For a trail bike?
This is the lie that keeps the entire global economy afloat. It's the final stage of the dirt bike delusion. You tell your partner, and you say it with such sincerity that you almost believe it yourself. This is the one, babe. This is the forever bike. Once I get this, the garage is full. I'm done. I'm done, right? You're as done as a kid in a candy store with a stolen credit card, because dirt bike ownership isn't a hobby. It's a mathematical progression. It starts with a sensible trail bike, but then you realise, you need a dedicated motocross bike for the track. Then you need a project bike, or two, to tinker with on Tuesday nights. Then you need a spare bike for when your mates come over, even though your mates have their own bikes. And finally, you need a parts bike, which ironically costs more than a functioning motorcycle, and currently serves as an expensive shelf for your WD-40 cans. Suddenly your property doesn't look like a home anymore. It looks like a low-budget motorcycle sanctuary for troubled machines. Every time you walk through the garage, you're not looking at clutter, you're looking at potential. You're looking at that 1994 frame and thinking, I reckon I could put a 500 motor in that. And that, my friends, is how the cycle begins all over again. Finally, the truth. So why do we do it? Why do we live this life of muddy deception? Why do we lie to our bank accounts, our partners, and our own common sense? It's because dirt bike riding isn't supposed to be sensible. If we were sensible, we'd all be playing lawn bowls, collecting stamps, or even worse, playing golf. Yes, I do that. It's supposed to be expensive, occasionally painful, and built entirely around questionable decision making, and incredibly, ridiculously fun. Because somewhere between the breakdown in the creek, the $800 repair bill, and the lie about being home soon, there are moments where everything else disappears. Moments when you're pinned in third gear, the tyres are hooking up, and for a split second, you're not the middle-aged guy with a mortgage and a beer gut. You're a hero. And that's the real truth. We don't lie because we're dishonest. We lie because it's the only way to justify a sport that makes us feel this alive. So keep the lies coming, legends, and keep buying those "it only needs a carb clean" projects, and most importantly, keep your eyes on the trail. So thanks for watching, guys and girls, and if you've told one of these lies recently, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear it, so we can all feel better about ourselves and maybe have a laugh too. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to see more lies from the Department of Dirt. See you out there. Mike from Moto Touro.